Hey travelers, Mag from FlCrafters here, and today we're doing something a little outside of our norm. We're not going to be taking on any crazy trail or hiking. Instead, we're going to be coming here to Pearl Harbor and seeing this historic site and getting a little bit of a history lesson of the day that everybody will remember when the Japanese attacked the United States and brought the American nation into World War II. We're going to start with a trip out to the USS Arizona. Once we get back from there, we'll take a walk around this park and show you all the historic sites. There's a lot to see here. I can't wait to share this bit of history with you. Come on, let's go. We begin our tour of Pearl Harbor with a boat ride out to the USS Arizona Memorial. It is a 45-minute tour, about a mile round trip, going out to the memorial, sitting directly on top of the remains of the USS Arizona. Due to its popularity and the limited amount of room available at the memorial, advanced reservations are required, but they're only $1 to get your ticket in advance. Along the way, you can see other markers for ships that were parked along Battleship Road during the attack, including the USS West Virginia, the USS California, and the USS Nevada. It is a sombering experience to step foot on the memorial and realize that it is the final resting place for more than 900 of the ship's 1,177 crewmen who lost their lives during the attack. The 180-foot-long memorial structure spans across the midsection of the sunken battleship, never making physical contact but allowing a perfect view to see the hull down below. Alfred Prius, the designer of the memorial, describes the inspiration behind its structure. It sags in the center, but stands strong and vigorous at the ends, expresses initial defeat and ultimate victory. The overall effect is one of serenity. Overtones of sadness have been omitted to permit the individual to contemplate his own personal responses, his innermost feelings. And we left the memorial feeling great respect for those who had made the ultimate sacrifice. Returning from our boat ride out to the USS Arizona, FlCrafters and I began our walk through the Pearl Harbor National Memorial. Each step brings us back in time to the history and events surrounding World War II. By the time the attack occurred on December 7th of 1941, the war had already been raging for 2 years in Europe and 4 years in Asia. The attack was intended to be part of a much larger plan by Japan to help expand its influence throughout the Pacific and secure vital resources like oil. To conduct the attack, they sent 6 aircraft carriers across the Pacific Ocean, carrying more than 350 aircraft on board. They maintained strict radio silence, avoiding all of the usual shipping lanes and slipping their way across 3,500 miles of ocean to a point just north of the island of Oahu. The attack came as a complete surprise when, at 6 a.m. on the morning of December 7th, the carriers began launching their first wave of airplanes, followed on by a second wave only an hour later. The first wave, consisting of nearly 200 aircraft, targeted battleships, airfields, and other naval facilities using torpedoes and bombs. The second wave, consisting of the other half of the aircraft, focused on continued destruction in the harbor and pursuing secondary targets. Out of the 8 U.S. battleships that were present during the attack, all were damaged, and 4 were sunk completely. Additionally, they sank 3 cruisers, 3 destroyers, an anti-aircraft training ship, and a mine layer. The U.S. fleet was far from the only casualty, though. More than 180 U.S. aircraft were destroyed, and a total of 2,403 Americans were killed, with another 1,178 wounded. The Japanese did not officially declare war on the U.S. and the British Empire until later that day after the attack. The very next day after the attack, the United States declared war on Japan, bringing it into the conflict that had already been spanning the globe for years. As soon as I saw this lone sailor standing out here, I had a moment of deja vu. There's a statue just like this in DC and in San Francisco near the Golden Gate Bridge. They are both replicas of the one that is in DC, but they are all slightly different from one another. Nevertheless, as soon as I saw him, I had flashbacks going right back to the Golden Gate Bridge. Rock on, fair winds and falling seas. Located aboard Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam, the Pearl Harbor National Memorial honors the history of World War II in the Pacific and commemorates the events of December 7, 1941. Except for the small fee to access the USS Arizona Memorial, entry into the Pearl Harbor National Memorial is completely free to the public. There is no place better anywhere on the Hawaiian Islands to learn about the stories and sacrifices made during the attack. Each artifact tells its own small piece of the story of the history and many acts of heroism that went into that day. It is considered a place of remembrance and contemplation of the nature of war, and the sacrifices of those who lost their lives during the Pacific War. Just like the aftermath of the terrorist attack on September 11th of 2001, the sneak attack against Pearl Harbor led to a wave of patriotism, with more than 134,000 people enlisting into the military within the first 30 days. By the end of the first year, nearly 50 of 132 million Americans were employed by the government helping the war efforts. But of course, no geocaching adventure is complete without a geocache! Fortunately, the Adventure Lab here at Pearl Harbor gives you exactly that, because there's a bonus that you can come out and find and add your name to a logbook. Finishing off our tour of the Pearl Harbor National Memorial, we visit its two museums, starting with the Road to War. This museum helps visitors to better understand the events that led to the beginning of World War II. Its exhibits include the Faces of Oahu, where you can learn about the people of Hawaii whose lives were changed forever following the attack. Code breaking that took place during World War II, and how the US military intelligence broke the top Japanese secret code. For me though, the most gut-wrenching item on display was the letter written from President Franklin D. Roosevelt on December 6th of 1941, just one day before the attack on Pearl Harbor. In it, he writes a personal appeal to Emperor Hirohito, urging him to prevent a war in the Pacific. We have hoped that a peace of the Pacific could be consummated in such a way that nationalities of many diverse peoples could exist side by side without fear of invasion. That unbearable burdens of armaments could be lifted for them all, and that all peoples would resume commerce without discrimination against or in favor of any nation. Who knows how different things would have turned out if those words had been heeded. But they had not, and so we move over to the Attack Museum, focusing on the events of December 7th, 1941. From here on display, I will read you a few excerpts from President Roosevelt's Day of Infamy speech. Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. It will be recorded that the distance of Hawaii from Japan makes it obvious the attack was deliberately planned many days or even weeks ago. During the intervening time, the Japanese government has deliberately sought to deceive the United States by false statements and expressions of hope for continued peace. But always will our whole nation remember the character of the onslaught against us. I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire. Okay, that does it for our tour of the Pearl Harbor National Memorial. We got a trip out to the USS Arizona, sight to see, always. And we got to walk through the park where we got to see a lot of naval history, Marine Corps, Air Force. Pretty much every branch was represented in the disaster that occurred not only across the island of Oahu, but specifically here at Pearl Harbor, where they struck hard and fast, and we really felt it dragging us into the war. Hope you guys enjoyed this history lesson, and I hope you learned something along the way. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, stay tuned for updates. We'll see you out on the trails.